The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is your host, Gerard, with episode number 37 of Florida's Fresh Mix on the Florida Podcast Network, a random mix of Florida's freshest personalities. Listen in, y'all.
Hello, Fresh Mixers. Welcome back to Florida's Fresh Mix podcast. My name is Amber, and I am the lead content producer of the Florida Podcast Network. With me, as always, is your host, Gerard. How's it going, Gerard?
It's going well. I mean, how could it not be going well after getting so much positivity from this wonderful interview? I feel like dancing on a cloud, Amber.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel too. And listeners, we hope that you will feel that way once you hear from our guest today. Sabine Kvenberg is a true thespian. I love thespian. If you don't know what a thespian is, then I suggest you look it up before your mind starts to wander. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead, Amber. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's not what you think it is, because she is an actress, singer, songwriter, musician, author, entrepreneur, podcast host, and communication coach. That's a lot. That's a lot of titles right there, people. And I'm sure I missed a couple, but you get the point. She is a very dedicated, passionate, and talented woman of various different things in the performing arts world. This is such an uplifting and inspiring, motivating conversation, like most of our conversations on this show. I mean, let's be honest. And it's a classic Fresh Mix episode in the sense that we have someone who tried to do the typical 9-to-5 work balance. And she said, nope, not for me. I'm going to go chase my true passions. Gerard, tell me about some of your thoughts on this episode.
Well, that's completely true. And once again, we have someone who followed their passion and stumbled along the way, but ended up where she belongs, and it's inspiring in every way. And you mentioned the performing arts. So that is a great segue for me to plug what I'm going to plug. Is that okay, Amber?
Oh, yeah, go for it, Gerard.
Okay, so speaking of performing arts, y'all, you know that I'm always going to plug my favorite charity, Guitars Over Guns. Go to the link in the show notes, go to the website, watch some videos. These young kids are participating in programs in South Florida, Chicago, and most recently in LA, where they are after school, during school, or whenever, they are learning how to do everything regarding music, whether it's to write music, rap, play an instrument, be part of a band. And at the same time, they're getting friends, a sense of community, mentorship. It's all of those things. I can't think of a better charity to contribute to. And I'm a little biased because I am on the board of directors and I'm a proud member of the board. And I'm extremely honored to be part of such an amazing organization. So click the link and give as much or as little as you can. Every bit helps. Let's help the kids. It's for the kids, Amber.
It's for the kids, all about the kids. No, I love that. And like Gerard said, that link is in the show notes. And I just wanted to point out something that's a little different with this episode. This might be the most links in our show notes that we've ever had for a single episode, because Sabine is like this walking talent machine.
I blame Sabine 100%. I blame her for all the links.
She has so much to plug. She has books that are out. She has music that she's produced. She has a podcast. And not to go back to, why we're just going to brag all about Sabine real quick, but every single title that I mentioned, every single thing that Sabine does, you guys touched on, at least for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Got some stories in there.
It was a challenge.
So much. But we think you will thoroughly enjoy this episode, this conversation with a wonderful woman. But before we head into that conversation, I just want to let everyone know that we're still looking for sponsors. So if you or anyone you know owns a business that serves the entire state of Florida, we would love to feature you as one of our sponsors. You can get your name out there and we can help you do that. So for any sponsorship inquiries, please email Jemmy at flintstonemedia.com. That's Jemmy, Jaime, at flintstonemedia.com. Or you can go ahead and email me at amber@flintstonemedia.com. All right. That is all the housekeeping that I have for this episode. So let's jump into the conversation with Gerard and Miss Thespian, Sabine Kvenberg.
Whoop, whoop. Wow. Today, I have the exquisite pleasure of having an interview I've been waiting to have ever since the moment I met this wonderful, magical woman, Sabine Kvenberg. And so we're going to get into how we met Sabine. But first of all, how are you today?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me. I am looking forward to this interview as well.
Now, how could I not have you based on how we met and also everything that I've learned about you, which doesn't surprise me at all. We're talking about someone who has over 36 years of experience as an actress, a director, a communication and confidence coach, and a business owner. Oh, did I mention storyteller, author, singer, songwriter? I mean, what has she not done is my question. And I am so looking forward to delving into the obvious intersectionalities between all of these various backgrounds, which all seem like in their own way, she pursued something that she loved. I mean, nobody gets forced into the acting business. Nobody gets forced into the singing. I mean, with few exceptions, so I don't see any 9-to-5 jobs in here. So I can't wait to hear your story and your journey. But first of all, I want to let our audience know how we met. I want to hear it from your perspective first, and then I have to give my take.
Of course. Well, the magical time was at Podfest this year. I was there, I participated, I also did a presentation there. And I believe it was the second to the last day, we ran into each other in a food line, I guess,
right,
waiting to get our dinner. And then we started talking, and then we found out, yeah, of course, I saw your sister and we talked. And so we came into a conversation that was like, wow, this is so great. And then you asked me, I have to have you on my podcast. And I said, sure. And here we are.
And so I'd like to add a couple of layers to that because, we did meet at Podfest. I was there as the host of this podcast, and my sister was one of the co-MCs, and she's been going for many, many years. Producer Jemmy, who's a stalwart in the podcasting industry. And my recollection is that we were in the line for drinks. I don't know if you're trying to avoid that. Not food, because we were in front of the bar. But the critical part that you left out that I'm so happy I get to bring up is that in my life, I would never say I was a shy person, but it wasn't until I'd say maybe high school, I really got confident in talking to strangers, whether it be a girl that I liked or someone that looked like they could use a friend or just a stranger that I just wanted to strike up a conversation. And often I think to myself, if I didn't have the confidence to just walk up to a stranger and start a conversation for no reason, I wouldn't have my current girlfriend. And, I wouldn't have met you. I mean, you came up to me first for no reason, just started a conversation. And I thought that said so much about who you are as a person and just seizing life. Because if you think back and if more people have the confidence to just meet a new person, were it not for that confidence, then that whole journey that you took with that person would have never existed. And it just blows my mind. And because of your confidence to do that, here we are.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We would miss out on so many things. But as you mentioned, you can learn confidence. Some people have it naturally. They have no fear whatsoever. But there is also a process that you can become more confident. And you just explained it very well.
and this is part of what you teach people and your expertise. Oh, you've got a co-guest in the background.
Yes, I do. That is Loki. He always has to give his comment if somebody's driving by. So that was him.
Okay, no problem. I think he's agreeing with everything we're saying.
Yes.
Loki is welcome. Besides, I really like his name because I'm a Marvel fan. And Loki gets a bad rap in Marvel Universe, but I actually like him. Anyway, digressing. So this is the Fresh Mix podcast where we highlight the most ebullient, interesting, fascinating people in Florida who are doing big things and interesting things. And you're certainly in that category. But let's start off with your Florida connection. So you're in Sarasota, but you're originally from Germany. So how long have you been in Florida, and what brought you here? What made you make the transition to come to the Sunshine State?
Sure. I have been in Florida now for the past 6 years. Mm-hmm. And the decision was kind of two-sided. Number one, it was kind of my husband had an opportunity here. And number two, I just love Florida. It's just beautiful. The Sunshine State says it, right? Sunshine, beach, and palms. So what more can you ask for? So that was basically the decision. Before, I lived in Virginia before I moved from Germany. But you mentioned something at the beginning. I never had a 9-to-5 job, but I actually did. Oh. And that was the one time in my life where I realized this is not me. I cannot work for a corporation behind a desk. I got absolutely crazy. And that's when I made the decision to pursue my passion and my dream of becoming an actress.
Now you have to tell me what job was it and how long ago was that?
Oh, well, it was a long time ago. Okay. When I was just coming out of school, I listened to the well-meant advice of my dad, who said, Sabine, find a job with benefits and a good salary so you can pay your bills and have something left over for your hobbies. And by hobbies, he meant my acting and singing and dancing. And, when you're just a youngster, you have no idea what your life was supposed to look like. So I did. And after 3 years, I found myself one day staring out of the window, unhappy, and just ask, I cannot do this for the next 40 years. What is mine to do? And that's when I had a quote unquote chance meeting with my former drama and music teacher, who reminded me of what I'm good at and what I love to do. And in that moment, I thought, he is right. And I went home, opened up the yellow pages, called an acting school, scheduled an audition, got in, and changed my careers and never looked back.
And isn't it so interesting how, and I tell this to people all the time, that there have been times in my life where one sentence my father said changed the trajectory of my life. And I know that your former drama teacher said one thing to you that changed the trajectory of your life. What was that?
He said, when he asked me if I was still active in my acting, singing, and dancing, and I answered no. So his response was, what a shame, Sabine, you are so talented. Bam, that was it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
In one moment, your life can change. And that's why I'm a firm believer that if you feel something positively towards something someone's done or who they are, no matter how fleeting, you should just tell them, because you never know what they might need that day, that week, or for the rest of their life. And that one thing you tell them, that one positive thing that can inspire them. And sometimes people will blow it off as a, nice little compliment, but sometimes they really internalize it. And look what happened with you. And here you are.
Yeah. And, the other thing that I want to add to that, because I knew what kind of impact he had in my life, I was already living in the States for many years. But when I came back home to Hamburg to visit my family, I made a point to look him up. And I found out where he was working at that time. I went there, I visited him, and I told him, thank you for saying what you said. And I shared my story with him. And as a gift, I gave him a CD that I recorded. And he was so so blown away that somebody came back to told him that, but he realized what impact he had. So if you are on the receiving side, make sure you pay it back.
That is so, so true. And I'm so glad you brought that up because, I said, I thought I was saying something profound by giving the first part of it, but you closed the loop with the second part, which is pay it forward and let people know how much they changed your life. It's so important to close the loop on a circle of positivity, especially in these days where finding things to be positive about are so few and far between. And that's one of the reasons why we have this podcast, and especially why we have I'm so happy to have you as a guest because you exude positivity. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Okay.
Okay.
When I first met you, the moment you opened up your mouth and just started talking to me randomly, you just radiate, you shine, you speak complete. I could feel nothing but joy speaking to you. You bring it out in people. And, you were telling me about your birthday excursions, which I'm definitely going to ask you about later. Then later, I was keeping an eye on my little nephew, Jordan. That's my sister's son, who's 10 years old. And he was just tearing it up on the dance floor later that night. And because I was keeping an eye on him and making sure he was okay, I also saw you doing the same thing, dancing. I don't know if you were dancing like no one was watching or dancing like everybody was watching, but you were having a ball. And I was like, I am so happy she agreed to be on my podcast because this is a woman who clearly demonstrates an embrace of life and living one's best life. And so let me shut up and you tell me how you made, first of all, I don't know, are you purposely avoiding telling me what that 9 to 5 was? Because I'm really curious.
Actually, in Germany, it's a little bit different, the education system. So I actually went to a trade school. So I studied for 2.5 years, and that was for the insurance industry. So I learned everything about insurance and business. And then I ended up working as a claim adjuster. So I was in the office and, made sure everybody.
That sounds terrible.
Paid. I know.
Wow. So I studied economics in college. And so, you're saying, and I'm like, oh, well, a lot of what I learned in college, I've been able to use it from a business perspective. So when you said business, I'm like, And then you said claim adjuster. I'm like, okay, that I get it now. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So your father would have preferred for you to remain a claims adjuster with a little bit of acting on the side just to get out your little hobby.
Well, yeah, he didn't know any better. Nobody in my family knew any better. And when I told them that I'm going to go to acting school, they said, "You're crazy, Sabine. It's a starving profession and the scandals and this and that. And oh my God, I had to really fight for it." And I was doing a compromise, actually, to tell you the truth. I said, okay, well, let me start with they call it half education, just for a couple of hours. But let me tell you, when I went after 2 weeks, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I told them and I did it and I never looked back.
And how early in your life did you know that you were very much into the performing arts?
Oh, I was a kid. I was always dancing. I loved watching musicals on TV. And when the musicals came on, I was singing and dancing along. I think that is a good indication.
That's great. I mean, especially when you figure something out early as a child. I'm the same way. And I regret that I didn't follow the same passion. I was always on stage as well. I did a ton of commercials when I was 7, 8 years old. But I did it not only did I love it, but, it helped me pay for private school. But then, eventually I took the more traditional route. And so it's inspiring to hear someone that had the same type of passion so young, but ended up taking it all the way and never looking back. So tell us about that transition. So, your drama teacher said the right words and triggered you in a positive way. So is it just that simple that you just didn't look back, or was there a period of transition from the 9 to 5 to fully immersing yourself into what you love?
Yes, there was a transition. First of all, of course, I had to go to school, and I financed the school. It was a private school. So what I did, I went to work, got the earliest I could get to work and the earliest I could leave. I left at 3, went right to school until 9:00, Monday through Friday. And then Saturday mornings, I went to school. And I did this for 2.5 years because I financed it all myself. And then the last half year, I took a different job just to get some money in. And so to really concentrate on that one. So that was my transition. But once I was done with school, I started the audition process. I get my first job. And from that point on, I always worked something in the entertainment industry. But here's another very important point that I want to make. When you do something that you are passionate about, that you love, and you learn the skills, so don't get me wrong, you also have to learn the skills. Talent alone is not enough. Then the money will follow. After 2 years being a stage actress, I was offered a role on TV, and we only filmed for 6 weeks over the summer. But during that time, I made more money than I did working the entire year as a claim adjuster.
Wow, that's amazing. And so give us some of the highlights of your being an actress and all your performances, the things that really stick out, that you just can't put a price on. Even if you hadn't gotten a penny, you would have just totally embraced and loved that moment.
Yeah. So I think there were, of course, a lot of great shows that I did. But one character that I played was a Pippi Longstocking. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's kind of...
Yes.
Okay.
I think we all are, yeah.
Okay. So I was that character. I played the main role, and it was a children's play. So that also gave me a real good experience of being real, because you cannot fake for children. They know right away. So you have to be your best.
Right.
And I loved that role because it was so inspiring, the strength that she showed and just her fun way of living. So I really, really enjoyed that character. And I got my judo experience there to actually carry a policeman on my shoulder. So that was
Oh
fun.
my gosh. I can't even picture that. You're so tiny.
There's all the right proportions. And then, of course, I played like nonsense. I played Sister Amnesia, where I could have also a Muppet, because that's also one thing I learned. So I played that. But really my highlight, I would say, was playing Les Miserables.
Oh, wow.
In Vienna, Austria. That was the first German production. And I loved the show. First of all, it's a beautiful story. The music is wonderful. And I loved every minute of it.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, but in addition to the stage, I know that you also have been a singer and a songwriter. And also I see storyteller in your resume. So tell me about these aspects.
All right. Well, of course, storyteller, you are a storyteller when you're an actress. But the storytelling aspect I put into the content that I'm creating now. When you tell a story, you connect with the audience. And when you your authentic you, put those two together, that is magic. And this is what I'm teaching now, right? Singer-songwriter, I, of course, always performed musical pieces. But when I was living already in the States, and we had our performing arts school in Virginia. And one day I had a visit from a reverend who wanted to look for a space for her church. And yeah, as a businesswoman, sure, I love to rent some space. But long story short, I ended up becoming the music minister for that church. It was a New Thought church. And I knew how powerful music is. Music helps you to get a message through the back door. Music goes right into your heart. And what I started doing, I was always working with the Reverend to enhance her message. And first I used music, even from musicals, right? Like Climb Every Mountain. And it was so inspiring. But then I ran out of songs that I could use. Then I started writing my own songs. That really started my career as a singer-songwriter. And people wanted to have a CD. And eventually, as I created a CD, I produced a CD and got it recorded in Nashville. And
Oh, wow.
Then the next step is
in Nashville. That's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it's I don't know if you know this, having been in a recent implant, but Nashville is known a bit for its singing.
Yes, it is, and that was another magical experience. Let me tell you that.
Wow.
When you see, I worked with a studio, and basically I sent my music to them just on my guitar, and told them, okay, this is kind of what I would like it to feel, right? The kind of the style. And I went to the studio, and they have this, what they call the scratch track. We had to record it. So meaning I sing along with them, but they listened to my recording only once. That tells you the caliber of musicians that they are. They listened to it once, and then they played it. And I mean, I could not believe my ears, and I sang along. And then, of course, I recorded my vocals as well for real.
Mm-hmm.
When I listened to the end product, Gerard, it was like magic. Your ideas that you had in your head, and then the music that was in your head as well, all of a sudden came to life.
Wow.
That's how I started with my singing songwriting career. That was a lot of very spiritual, but later on, I also then made it very inspirational or motivational, because I always speak from my heart, as you already know. And I wanted to have something for people to stay inspired and be inspired. And one of the songs is Living Out Loud. I created. So that's who I am.
Living Out Loud. I'm definitely stealing that. And I may or may not give you credit, but it's that. I just love that phrase, living out loud. I'll have to remember that.
I'll send you my recording. I'll send you the song.
I would love to hear it. Maybe we can somehow incorporate it into this episode. But I love saying things that my producer is going to have to handle, not me. So.
That's quite okay.
Yeah. So I have to ask, because this is the first time in all of my interviews that I've had the opportunity to ask someone this who appreciates it as much as I do. I love Broadway musicals. I haven't seen nearly enough. One of my dreams is just spend a year watching all the ones I haven't seen. But my favorite, I'm a bit biased because I played Kinnicky in Grease. My favorite musical is Grease. And I was thinking about that so much yesterday due to the passing of Olivia Newton-John. And I also played Birdie in Bye Bye Birdie when I was in 8th grade. So I wanted to ask someone who knows musicals probably much more than I do, what is your favorite musical of all time?
Oh, it's really hard to tell, because there's so many great musicals out there. Of course, I'm biased. Les Mis is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that I saw a couple of times is Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
Because when that came out, that was magical. How they recreated the animals and made them look alive on stage. Mm-hmm. And of course, it also had such a great message. Mm-hmm. And I like musicals that have wonderful music, that is inspiring with a great message. And then, of course, what you see, like I said, in this case, it was the animals, how they came alive. So all of that together. And of course, one of the later ones, Hamilton, is also very brilliant, just the music and just something modern. So yeah, I would say those are one of my favorites.
I'm ashamed to say that I still haven't seen Hamilton. It's a cross that I have to bear.
You got
scarlet. It's a scarlet letter that I wear to this day.
Don't feel bad, because I tell you, when Hamilton and its hip hop said, I don't know. I haven't seen it really on Broadway or live. It was on Broadway. It is not yet anywhere else, I guess. But when they recorded it and it came out, I think it was on Disney, I said, well, okay, it's the stage version with the original cast, so I better watch it now.
Okay,
and
all right.
I think I watched it like 3 times now.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize you could watch it on TV like that. So I can find it and watch it tonight. I didn't.
Yes.
This is why I love these interviews. Had you not come up to me in that line, while we were waiting to get some wine, then I wouldn't know that I could watch Hamilton tonight. So see how things happen. So I am so curious to see how you've transformed all these wonderful experiences into what you're doing now. So I know that you owned a performing arts school with your husband, and this was in Virginia,
Yes.
for 27 years. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Now, was this your first entrepreneurial venture, and is that still going on, or how does that fit into your life story?
Well, after I met my husband doing a European tour of Fiddler on the Roof, we became good friends and stayed in touch for a couple of years before we then actually started dating and getting married. And then we
Is he German too? Sorry.
No, he's American.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. He was actually a dancer in Fiddler on the Roof. I was playing one of the lead characters, and yeah, that's how we met.
I only know one phrase in German, which I'm sure you've said to him many times, which is, and forgive my pronunciation, Ich liebe dich.
That is pretty close. Ich liebe dich. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I tried. It's been a long time, but that's all the German I know. But anyway, Go ahead.
So after then, being directors for a German company, flying all over the place and around the world, in Europe and above, we decided it's enough with the gypsy life. We wanted to settle down, and we wanted to pass on the experience and the love for the performing arts to a new generation. And then the question was, where do we do it? He was living with me in Germany at that time, but we decided to do it here in the States because there was just more demand for it. So we moved here. That was in 94, and we started. And like with everything that you mentioned at the beginning of our interview, is like, wow, you're so full of life and doing things and trying things. If you follow your heart, then you do it and you figure it out as you go along. I had no idea how to build a studio and how to build a business, from how do you name it? What sign do you put up there? We put down, Studio of the Performing Arts, but we didn't have so many letters that we could put up on the side. So we did Studio PA. I mean, how stupid was that back then? PA is in Pennsylvania, is a photo studio. I should have just put on dance. So everybody, they teach dance there, right? But that's another story for another time. So this is what we did. So we figured it out as we went along. And of course, my business background came very handy in that respect.
Right.
And we built it, and wow, it was busting out of the seams. And then 4 years later, we actually built a building, how we wanted to have the studio. Mm-hmm. So we moved to this new location. We had like 3 studios there, and it was just magical. It was beautiful. And we put a lot of great shows on. And one of them was an adaptation of The Lion King, by the way. We loved it. And then it, like with everything, Gerard, it expands. With your growth, you grow and you step up into new leadership position. And I found myself there as well. And I started helping aspiring actors to get in front of agents and casting directors. So I did local auditions. Then we trained those that we decided that okay, there is talent there and there's also the willingness there to do it. And that it factor. And then we trained them and got them in front of agents and casting directors. But there's one thing that I realized back then. Talent is only 20%. 80% is your mindset and your attitude and your work ethics. So with that said, I started writing it down and I created a workbook, an actor's handbook, a workbook, and I started working with some. And then I said, well, I have to write it a little bit more in detail. And I wrote a book. So I authored Secrets on How to Succeed in Showbiz. And guess what the first chapters are all about? It's about goal setting, about your attitude, about your mindset, about making a decision, how to set goals, how to create a plan. And then, of course, the resources for the actors as well. Mm-hmm. So that was the first book that I wrote. And that really paved the way to now being a coach, coaching entrepreneurs and individuals who want to grow, who want to become their next greater self.
Now that's amazing, because this is the perfect segue into talking about the Communication Coaching Center, which you started in last year. Is that correct?
Correct. I started it last year after I finally let go of the studio. I sold the studio and made a decision. It is time for me to let go of that. It was not easy, let me tell you that. It's like your baby, right? But I knew there were greater and more things in the stars for me that I had to do now. And especially now being in Florida, it became more challenging, the back and forth. So that's why I made the decision. And that's when I started the Communication Coaching Center. Here you go.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but your primary focus on your coaching now is entrepreneurs?
Yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. So I work with entrepreneurs who have a product or who have a message, but want to get more traction. Mm-hmm. And that is where my camera confidence coaching comes in. I have a camera confidence course and also, of course, my private coaching, where I work with them how to be more present in front of the camera, how to use your voice correctly, and to be more exciting when you are on camera, and how to prepare to also appear confident and feel, most importantly, confident. Because as I mentioned to you at the beginning, it's a learned skill, and most people don't think about it that way.
I've always wondered, for people like you and me who've never been shy of the camera and actually embraced it, or being on stage or performing in front of people, I always found it weird when people have stage fright, or they just need to get up and literally just read a speech, and, why it's so difficult. And I know intellectually that, that must be, traumatic for some people. But I guess my intuition is that more people are not like us and just totally comfortable with it from birth. And most people have, at least, there's probably a spectrum, but some degree of insecurity with public speaking and performance and being on camera, which are necessary components of starting a business often, and selling your business and pitching your business, right? Am I right in my intuition? You have a lot more experience in this than I do, that, the average person is just really, really nervous about all of these things.
Yes. Did you know that public speaking is the number one fear that people have?
Right. I've heard that. And I just couldn't believe it every time I hear that statistic. I just can't relate to it. So, right, but I believe it, but
it is. But there are many different reasons. You cannot just pinpoint it out. It's because of this. No, there are many different reasons. Obviously, it has something to do with your own insecurity and your own confidence, right? And there are several layers that I found through my experience working with individuals that you can peel down. It's like an onion. You have to take one layer after another until you get to the center of it. And you peel one layer and they feel a bit more confident, and then another layer. And you find out when you work with an individual, obviously. But then the second one is how you prepare. Because most people think they just have to get up and then start speaking and nothing comes out. Well, you got to prepare yourself and then practice. That's what I have in my camera confidence coach. My 3 P's, right? Is prepare, practice, present. So I go into detail how you prepare. Oh, for example, when you are, and you talked about us being actors, we are not afraid, right? But what would I say if I told you, okay, you play this character now, and here, look at the script once or twice, and now you go on stage and play it. You would probably say, Sabine, you're crazy. I need to memorize it, right?
Right.
Exactly. And as actors, I had some nightmares before an opening night where I had the nightmare, I forgot my text. And I think many have that. And it's because maybe I haven't practiced enough. So the next day, you bet, I was looking at my text and looked again and worked again and again and again and again. So that's the preparation part. And then there are also some framework that I share how you can do it. And then the practice, you have to practice. Prepare yourself also with the warm-up exercises that you do. And when you do this over and over again, just the introduction, for example, as you know, people remember the beginning and the end. So you want to make sure that you nail your beginning and then nail your end, that you have it so memorized. And then in between, you can have like bullet points, right? Mm-hmm. And then the presentation, how you present. Are you speaking everything just on one monotone level so you put people to sleep? Or you have vocal variety? And it's a skill you can learn.
And I do have to mention that there is a quote right along these lines that you said that I really appreciated, which is, you talk about a confidence loop, and if your competence grows, your confidence grows. And I just love how succinct that expression is. Do people come to you that are too confident? Can that be a bad thing? Like, what's your experience with that side of it?
I wouldn't necessarily say too confident, but maybe you're a little bit cocky and not humbled enough. Mm-hmm. Because there's also a fine line when you just say, well, I'm the greatest, and I can do this and I can do that. And yes, I am so great and I'm so confident. You can really reject some of the people. They're like, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with her, right? Or him. You want to have that humbleness with you to really also say, hey, I also have shortcomings and I still learn. I never stop working on my own mindset and I make mistakes, but I'm confident enough to admit it. Mm-hmm. And that is when somebody, I would say, if somebody is fully confident, they can also stand up and say, hey, I'm not perfect.
In your opinion, what is the interplay between confidence and charisma?
Charisma is something I think that you bring in with your personality. Mm-hmm. And we often see that in actors and performers. They have this charisma. You just are being drawn to them. And some people have it naturally. And some people may not have that. But if you work on your confidence, I think you can enhance it because everybody has some sort of charisma. I don't want to say somebody, oh, you don't have charisma. You are right in this corner there. Don't even get up there. No, I believe truly that each individual has something special within them. And we have to, as coaches, draw it out of them. And when I work with individuals, sometimes throughout our conversations, or they're sharing something, I said, wow, I never knew that about this person. And there's something comes out when they talk about it that makes them light up a little bit more. And when you then can tap into it and enhance that and bring that out, boy, the confidence will grow at that person. And all of a sudden, they bring out some sort of charisma that it shines through for somebody else to see.
I think that that's spot on. And you know, you've found so many mediums to share. You already mentioned you can sign up for one-on-one sessions on your website, which we're totally going to plug later in the show. You know, you have workshops, etc. You know, I feel like you're totally engrossed in sharing what you know to uplift other people and to give them the confidence to succeed, particularly entrepreneurs. Now you've found another medium, which is your podcast, Become. And let me tell you, I really enjoy your interviewing style, and you've picked some guests, because if you don't feel better listening to even just your intro and your voice in your intro, and then hearing your guests, and there's a through line that, you know, there's pain, but then behind the pain, there's learning, and then there's hope. What I've gained is that your primary goal is to inspire and let everyone know that tomorrow's another day. So let us know what made you the decision to start it.
That is a very good question. You know, we all have times where we grow and become our next level up, how I say. And I was in that process at the beginning of the year where I really wanted to get clear on who do I serve, how do I serve best. That also is in alignment with what I love to do. So I, worked on a couple things. And one night I woke up in the middle of the night, and that word become was in my head. And then I thought, oh, wow, I have to start a podcast, interviewing people and really sharing with the world that, hey, you are not alone. There are a lot of people who go through a process of sometimes being painful, being still, from being that caterpillar that crawls on the floor, that doesn't know anything else, but there is something ingrained in that caterpillar that says, okay, there is a time where I just have to be still and transform to then really can fly. And I believe that is ingrained in each one of us. And when we become more self-aware and have, a journal about it and whatnot, we too can become that butterfly. And when we listen to stories, like many different stories, what people went through, I hope that we inspire others and also give the confidence and the assurance that, hey, it's okay where I am right now. Maybe it is exactly where I need to be to become that next level up, to become that greater self of mine. And that's how it really got started. And I must say that the interview partners that I had so far, they're just beautiful from all walks of life. It's not just one area. That's what I want, to show the variety. But that's basically where I am now focused on, also helping people to become the next level up.
That comes across loud and clear as the through line of every episode that you do. I think it's great. And like I said before, particularly in, these troubled times, it's great to have something that's purely positive to reach out to. And I'm sure that your audience appreciates being able to tune in to hear that whenever they want to. That's the beauty of podcasting, is that, you don't have to wait for a particular time or whenever. When you need it, it's there for you. Keep putting out that positive content because people need it. Now, based on your acting background, I had a hunch and I checked IMDb and I saw Sabine Kvenberg listed as being involved in a project called Why I'll Never Make It. I don't know if there are a lot of people with your name, but I'm assuming that was you. What was that? What was your connection to that project?
Actually, that is a podcast that I was an interview guest on. It's called While I Never Make It. It was another actor, and he interviewed different other performers and so forth.
Yeah, I did see it was a podcast. And so it sounds like something that would be right up your alley to discuss and to give your experience and insight and wisdom on. So taking all of this into account, I'm going to ask you a question that I have no idea how you're going to answer it. And I like that. Sabine, how would you sum up your life philosophy?
Good question. And it's a big question.
Yeah.
For me, it's be yourself and enjoy every moment of your life, because the moments are the precious one that we have.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, for me, it's enjoy, serve, and have fun living your life to the fullest.
I think, after I met you and, or you met me, however you want to look at it. And I talked to my sister about you after we just met in line. I said, I met, the most wonderful woman in line. And then I saw you dancing out there, and I described you to my sister as she's a magical sprite. I feel like she wants to, just grab everyone's hand and let's run in the forest and enjoy life. She's just, taking it all in, and you're just a wonderful soul. And so I think that the appropriate way to end this conversation is where we began, which really drew me into you and your story, where you were telling me about your birthday excursions. So tell my audience what you shared with me about the different adventures you've had on your birthday, and how long have you been doing this, and what caused you to start doing that?
When you start celebrating your 0 birthdays, especially when you get up there where I am, you become a little bit more aware of, hey, life is not forever. So you better enjoy it. And I always enjoyed life, but I wanted to have something that I can always look back to. And so for my 60th birthday, I said, okay, I want to do something that is special, that also scares me a little bit. And that was, I had it on my bucket list, but I kind of pushed it away a little bit. Mm-hmm. That was to skydive. Mm-hmm. So I bought myself my birthday gift, a ticket to do the skydiving. And it was so exhilarating. It was so cool. And I was scared. Let me tell you that. When I was sitting up there on that plane, all of a sudden they opened the door and I looked down. I was like, oh, shoot. Oh, wow. I was like, no. But, there was no turning back anymore. So I had to do it. I had to jump.
So I've never been skydiving. So I'm assuming that the law, I guess the laws might be different in different states. I have no idea. But I'm assuming that they require you to do a tandem dive before you dive by yourself. So did you do a tandem dive? Is that what happened?
Oh, yes. No, you couldn't just skydive on your own. You have to, if you want to do this, there is like a process. There's a course that you do before you can do it by yourself. No, for this, it's a tandem dive. But that was so exhilarating. And then I said, from now on, and ever since I've done that, and last year I did something here, since we're talking about Florida, where I live. It's called Triumph. It's like you have like obstacle course and zip lines, like 5 obstacle courses. It's a great. You can do a day ticket that you purchase, which I did. And we did obstacle course 1, and I did 2. My husband stopped at 1. I did 2. And then it started raining, and then you had to stop. I said, okay, well, that's fine. It was fun. It was a little bit, 2 was a little bit scary, but I did it and it was great. But then I decided, you know what? I'm upgrading to a year ticket. And then I made a decision for my following birthday. I want to accomplish all 5 courses.
Wow.
Let me tell you.
Now, your husband wasn't there for that.
No. And then I did 3. This was a challenging one. And I had to do it a couple of times. And then I had 4. Oh, wow, it was even more challenging. But then 5, forget about it. But I said, I want to do it. And I made a decision to do it. And I know I could do it if I prepare accordingly. And so I made that my point. Every time I do one more thing. And I tell you, I had to jump over something or swing over. And the first time I didn't get it. And the second time I didn't get it. But the third time I did. And so I worked my way through. And this was so hard, but I did it. I was able to ring the bell. Last year in end of November, I did it. And it felt so good. And then there was one younger guy. I did it I think the second or third time I did it. Not the same day. It was a different day. There was a younger guy behind me and I was guiding him. I thought, oh, wow, very cool. But you know what? This is what keeps you young and alive. Stay active, have fun. And, that's how I want to leave this planet.
Well, I hope you don't leave this planet for a very long time. And what you're telling me about this Triomphe, these excursions, these challenges, when you say that you do 1, 2, 5, do these things all happen on the same day, or is it, back-to-back days? How does that work?
Well, actually, you have to start with the training course. Mm-hmm. Even though you've done it so many times, you have to go through the whole thing. You have to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And when you're by the end, 4 has a fork, and that fork is number 5. So you can just do fork and then you're done. But then there's number 5. But you have to do all. So by the time you get to 5, you are pretty exhausted already.
So it's all in the same day?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how long does it?
No, that's your question. How long does it take?
Yeah.
It's about 2 hours.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I think we should include a link to this because I want to look it up and I want to check it out because that just sounds so fun. I mean, how do you even go about preparing for it? You just work out, get in shape, or are there ways to specifically prepare? Is there a way to know what you're getting into ahead of time so you can prepare for the specific tasks you're going to be required to do?
When you go for one day, most people, it depends on your physical appearance and your physical fitness. If
not
you're
appearance,
young,
right?
Yeah. If you're young and you're fit, people do it the whole thing in once, right? But most people do 1, 2, and maybe 3. And it's okay to do that without being prepared. When you go to the other ones, I would definitely say get prepared, have a little bit of strength, especially upper arm strength for number 5. How I prepared is I did 1, this is what you can do with 5. You can do 1 element or 2 elements. And then I was so exhausted, especially after doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then going to 5, I then said, okay, I want to be lowered down. You can be lowered down. And I made that clear at the beginning. The guides already knew me and they knew that I'm working towards 5. And so I did it a couple of times. So I think I was lowered maybe 2 times or 3 times maximum. And then after that, I did the whole thing.
Okay, there you go. So you do have the option to, suspend it's not like once you decide to enter, let's say number 4, that you have to finish it. Like you can quit at any time if you're feeling dizzy or whatever. Right.
Yeah. And there are guides on the floor that help you verbally. And then on number 4 is a guide up in the trees. In the others, they're down. And if they see somebody get stuck, they can come and get you and lower you down. So no worries. And everything is safe. I mean, we are harnessed in. You have a harness. And you can even sit in your harness and then pull yourself back together to go on. So it's very, very safe. And it's fun.
Okay, excellent. So listen, let's give her all the shout outs. You are the author of Unlock Your Full Potential and Secrets on How to Succeed in Showbiz, as we mentioned before. We will link to these in the show notes. This is your opportunity. I want your voice to be out there as much as possible and to be heard by as many as possible. So first of all, do you have any events or anything else coming up that you'd like to promote while you're here with me on the mic?
Yes, thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I am planning a retreat, and it's a 3-day retreat. And of course, the topic is become, and it's about how you bring your idea, your message into reality. And the retreat is really about getting the right mindset and getting you prepared the right way. And then the second day is about really diving into the nuts and bolts from your idea to how you can make it a reality. So I guide each participant. It's going to be a small group, so it's limited to 10 people, because we are really intensively working together to putting the idea into physical equivalence, meaning if it's a course, we'll put it out. Obviously, not a whole book, right? We cannot write a whole book in that, but the idea, at least that they have something that they can promote at the end of the 3 days. So they have a physical product that they can promote, either, if they have an opt-in page, if they have a course or they have a coaching, whatever they want to bring out into this world. So this is my 3-day retreat that I'm doing. So it's result oriented, and it's by application only, because I really want to make sure that the right people are getting together. Because when you have the right people, there is magic that starts to happen. And obviously it's not for everybody. So I have an application process, and they can contact me. The best thing for right now is just on my website, which is SabineKvenberg.com. And if you have a story and have a great story to share, you can always apply to be a guest on my podcast. And then I am visible on social media. I have a YouTube channel. So every Monday I upload a new video with inspiration, motivation, and some great things that I'm sharing. And my Instagram account, and everything is Sabine Kvenberg. There is really only one Sabine Kvenberg here in this world. Can you believe it?
I figured as much. It's kind of nice to have a unique name. Although I'm a junior, but there are only 2 of us. So, but yes, when I saw Sabine Kvenberg on IMDb, I was like, okay, that's clearly her. And especially when I saw the subject matter. So
yeah,
no, that's great. And so you beat me to the punch on your social media accounts. Oh, and when is the retreat happening? It's
going to be in October. So I don't have the exact date yet. So that would be something, they can discuss, or we can discuss when we talk about. But I also wanted to add something else to it. If somebody feels like, there is something there, but I'm not sure if this is the right thing for me yet, or want to discuss something, they can schedule a one-on-one call with me, and we can have a meaningful conversation where I can listen, and then I can give them a piece of advice. And if we feel, wow, we want to work a little bit more together, then I can give them some more information at that time. But no matter what, they will leave with some good insights.
Okay, great. And where can they go to schedule the call?
They can schedule the call on my website. And I can give you also the direct link, and you can put it in the show notes.
Of course we will. We already have it. I just want to let everybody know that all the information you need to reach Sabine will be in the show notes. And she has a very charming website that is very user-friendly and inspires you to, reach out to her. And I guarantee that you will not regret it. So speaking of things I do not regret, it's having this wonderful conversation. I'm feeling more inspired, and a slight bit of regret that I didn't do certain things to follow my passion. But you know what? It's never too late. I appreciate you so much. This has been wonderful. It's one thing to say to someone, oh, sure, I'll be on your podcast, and to actually come through and to deliver in such a positive, meaningful way, and to share your nuggets of wisdom and your story. I just really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure that my listeners will too.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a joy to having this conversation with you. And I hope your listeners got a lot out of it as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm on Team Sabine. All right.
Woo!
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. So much is swimming in my head now, and I completely blame Sabine for just really, blowing my mind as far as, not only her positivity, but we keep saying the word magic, but her magical outlook on life. It's not, pie in the sky, totally divorced from reality, right? She also introduces practicality with, being your best self and, elevating yourself and living your best life. I think it's such a perfect mix, and I love the way she expresses herself. And for someone where English is her second language, man, she's inspired me more than a lot of people. And she gets it all right. She speaks with precision and passion, and I love all of that. And I think that one thing that stood out to me with respect to this fresh take is we got into talking about moments, life moments, and how a single moment can change the trajectory of your life. And we talked about how that moment where she decided in that line where she says we were getting food, we were getting some wine. There's nothing wrong with that. But had she not walked up to me, I wouldn't have met her. I wouldn't have been talking to you right now and about her and sharing all the wisdom that she had to bestow. And it's those moments that we need to really think about. And, whether you're a person who's shy or you like to keep to yourself or you just don't like to bother people or whatever, I think back to the times where I just went up to somebody and that person ended up becoming a very close friend of mine because I initiated a conversation, or maybe they became a love interest. And, as a perfect example, my current girlfriend who is the love of my life, I had to walk up to this extremely intimidatingly beautiful girl and just talk to her and have the confidence to do that. So you have to seize those moments in life. And I love the way she kind of flipped it and said, when someone changes your life because of something they said, and she was referring to her former drama coach, you have to pay it forward, not only pay it forward and do the same thing in the future, but you should tell them how they changed your life, even if it's years later. And by paying it forward, I mean, if you're feeling something positive towards someone who said something or did something for you or taught you something, and you're thinking, wow, that was amazing what that person just did for me. I'm very thankful that happened. Don't just thank the heavens or whomever else. Thank them. Tell them. Send them a text. Leave them a voice text. Leave them a voicemail. Call them up. Just let them know. Send them an email. Just let them know that they made a positive difference, because those things matter and it all circulates throughout the universe. You might inspire them to help someone else in the future. And the other thing that I would just point out is I really appreciated her whole discussion about talent and, success. Doing what you love is 20% talent and 80% mindset, preparation, and practice. So we're all about following your passions on this show. That's a through line throughout so many of these episodes. But don't get your head too full of yourself to the point where you think, look, I've got a God-given talent. I don't need anybody else's input. I don't need to practice. I don't need to listen. Michael Jordan was born with a gift, but look at his practice regimen. Same thing with Tiger Woods. Okay. And I know I'm just using sports analogies right now, but that goes with damn near everything. Okay, that would apply to Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Okay, so I'm just saying, whatever your passion is, fine tune it. Make yourself the best you can be, and accept advice from people that you trust, and especially people that are better than you. Always try to learn from people that are better than you. That's the best way to grow. Remember what Sabine says. If your competence grows, then your confidence grows. And I'll leave you with that. All right. Well, that's my fresh take, folks. Thanks for listening in. And I look forward to having you tune in to the next episode of the Fresh Mix Podcast right here on the Florida Podcast Network. For details and show notes about today's show and our guest, go to freshmixpodcast.com. I'd really love your feedback both on today's guest and on my fresh take. The Florida Podcast Network has a closed Facebook group exclusively for super fans of their shows like Florida's Fresh Mix. So we all look forward to hanging out in there with you. Just search for FPN Insiders on Facebook to leave us comments, get early scoops, contests, and other special treats. Or you can just complain about how Florida, is the only state where there's a man associated with that state. There's no Wyoming man. There's no Alabama man. There's only Florida man, okay? And it's never good. In the news, there's always a Florida man doing something crazy. Like most famously, years ago, right down the street from where I live, where a Florida man ate the face of another person like a zombie, okay? That actually happened on a bridge right over here. Only in Florida. Why can't there be a, New York man, Kansas man, whatever. I digress. Anyway, be sure to visit all the great shows on the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. Keep catching Who's Fresh in the Florida Mix with Florida's Fresh Mix Podcast.